Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
It's amazing.
And that's remarkable.
Alex, it's July. It's July 19th. We're 12 days out from the Major League Baseball trade deadline, which is a real trade deadline now, as opposed to what it was as recently as 3 years ago, which was a fake trade deadline in which you could still make trades for 31 days after. A real procrastinator's trade deadline. One for the boys, like you and me, who leave things to the last minute and are like, wish I had 30 more days to do this. No, but we're 12 days out from the real trade deadline, which means we're right smack in the middle of the storm for silly Yankees trades rumors.
Ooh, yes.
Randy Miller of NJ.com reports that the Yankees will, quote, aggressively pursue Mason Miller. They were outbid last summer for him and have renewed interest this summer as they had scouts to watch the Padres play the Royals this weekend. Now, Alex, I would like to ask you, if you wanted to trade for Mason Miller, do you think you would need to send human scouts to be to a Royals versus Padres game to figure out if Mason Miller is good enough to trade for?
You know what? Yes, I would, because that's creating jobs, Bobby.
Exactly.
I'd probably glance at his Baseball Reference page. Like, I don't even think I would get down into like season by season data or anything like that. I'm talking like highest level. Right. What comes up on like the Fangraphs summary little box or whatever.
That's good enough. You started on Facebook. How'd we get to Fangraphs?
By clicking through.
You can't click from Baseball Reference to Fangraphs in one click.
No, I don't think you can. No.
What do you think the scouts wrote down? M. Miller notes. What did they write?
Yeah. Is this allowed?
Good poise.
Mm-hmm. Radar gun seems to be broken.
Lively fastball has life. That's what I would write. Things I would write if I was a scout sent to assess Mason Miller. Fastball has life. Sliders got bite.
Gotta say, this is what I'm writing down if I'm scouting any pitcher. You know, I'm like, ooh, he's got some good ride on that fastball.
I got one for you. Mound presence. How about that?
Oh my God, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Looks good in the uniform. Big league stuff. I can keep going all day. I feel like I sort of missed my calling.
I think you did too. What, platitudes to describe extremely subjective measures of a person's ability? Yeah, we could do that.
That's just podcasting.
That's podcasting right there. Yeah, big league mentality.
Big league mentality. I would probably find a way to work in there that his name is alliterative, and I like that. That'll sell jerseys.
Mm-hmm. Will it?
I don't know.
Maybe if they started including first initial on the back.
Well, they could. Nothing says that they're not allowed to, except for the fact that the Yankees don't print the names on the back of their jerseys.
Right, yeah, exactly. Actually, no one's going to know this guy's name, to be clear.
What number does he wear with the Padres? Mason Miller, 22. Is that one retired by the Yankees? Yankees, number 22. Currently taken by Ben Rice. Sorry, Ben. Give it up.
That's home run derby participant Ben Rice to you.
And that's all he was. He was our participant.
He was our
Not
participant.
much more.
He was just kind of there.
I don't think his name came up even once during our live home run derby recording last week.
Nope. I mean, you have to hit home runs for us to talk about you.
He hit a few. He hit like 8.
Yeah. I think my home run derby improvement is they should include like a bench line, you know? Like there should be a ninth participant that they just take from the stands or whatever that also goes out and participates in the home run derby. Because I just like, and maybe the answer is Ben Rice, right? Like maybe Ben Rice is your benchmark, right? That you're grading against. But like I want to see what
I see. You said bench line, and I was like, is this a concept I haven't heard of before? I was really confused.
Look, it's early. It's
Baseline,
It's
benchmark, benchline.
It's 1 p.m. here where I am. I'm still waking up. I was out at Wrigley all day yesterday, paying
You were
my
out
respects.
golfing in the hot
DraftKings
sun all
Sportsbook.
morning.
No, I wasn't. Don't
Did
slander
you-
my name like that.
Did you go down on one knee and pour one out for the FanDuel Sportsbook at Wrigley?
Yeah,
DraftKings.
Yeah,
Is it
I did.
DraftKings or FanDuel? It's DraftKings, right?
DraftKings.
Yeah. Sorry.
Get it right. That's
Sorry to the
sponsor
fine
of the
folks at
Tipping Pitches
FanDuel.
podcast.
I would never want to imply that FanDuel was doing something that they didn't actually do. That's hairy territory these days.
No, these are unique brands with unique presences in the market, each, I think, telling a unique story.
I want to ask you about your experience at Wrigley and the weather, because it's been a notable story playing Major League Baseball games in less than ideal weather. Although I guess I don't know for sure whether Chicago was experiencing the same thing that the rest of the Mid-Atlantic and East Coast was experiencing, but it probably
I
wasn't
think in
great.
many cases, worse. AQI in New York was like 200, and out here a few days ago it was like 500.
Oh, I didn't know it went
Yeah.
that high. Is there a max?
Me neither.
AQI?
It's sort of like, right? Does it just keep going? Like, is there a like worst AQI you can get? Probably not. Right? You can always make the air quality a little worse. A little elbow grease.
That would depend on my knowledge of what the AQI actually is. Like,
Right. Yeah.
because it's not a 0 to 100 scale of like the percentage of air that is polluted. It's like how
Correct.
many
No.
pollutants, and there can be multiple different kinds of pollutants. I've been looking into this recently. You know why? Because we're going to talk about it on
Right,
today's
yeah.
episode of the Tipping Pitches podcast. Our annual climate crisis is here. Boy, it would be really great if there had been a podcast, say in the 2020, 2021 range, that chronicled sort of the idea of the degrading climate and how that might impact professional sports. I wish that podcast existed personally, because then we could reference back to it. But alas, we'll just have to have.
We've created it in the aggregate. I think.
I think you're right.
Given that we just cover this annually, we should put them all together into one climate series.
just every conversation we've ever had about the climate on the podcast.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about another crisis, which is the crisis of trying to purchase tickets to anything in the United States of America. We'll talk a little bit about generative artificial intelligence in Major League Baseball dugouts.
Interesting.
A resounding week for the tipping pitches is just a politics podcast through the lens of baseball. We're talking about the climate, we're talking about affordability, and we're talking about AI. But before we do all of that, I am Bobby Wagner.
I am Alex Baisley.
You are listening to Tipping Pitches. Thank you to the new patrons of the last 2 weeks, because I didn't do it last week. Drew, Danielle, Jason, Sims, Dave, Bill, Rob's alter ego, not to be confused with Rob. That's Rob's alter ego. We still count those in the Bobby camp. Masha, Kurt, Mariah, Steven, J-Lep, Abby, The Penda's Friend, Anthony, Ryan, Ellie, and Caleb. Big week. Why do you think so many people popped over to the Patreon?
I don't know. Or is there something going on over there? I don't really keep up to date. Bobby, it's the audit.
The audit. Episode 1 of
The
the
audit.
audit published last week on Thursday morning. The audit is our 10-episode series. I would call it a mini series, but it's not that many. 10 episodes running all the way through December, where we take 3 teams per episode and we audit the publicly available financial information about these teams and their performance, their economic performance as it relates to putting quality baseball teams on the field and reinvesting the money that they make from baseball into providing a good baseball product for their fan bases and for the wider Major League Baseball community. That's what we're doing. We've talked about it a lot here on the main feed. It's over on Patreon. First episode is free. Link is in the description right now. So if you want to listen when you're not a paying member, all you have to do is sign up for a free membership to listen to episode 1, see what the series is all about, check it out. We'll probably be running some previews here and there to remind you folks what we're doing over there on the audit, but it is easily the most researched episodes that we've ever done. Maybe with the exception of the Alex Rodriguez Rules to Life, but it is that kind of energy applied in like a real way, like
Right.
a journalistic
journalistic framework. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Although I stand by A-Rod's Rules to Life as a journalistic endeavor.
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
It's timely. This is timely because I don't know if
This
everybody
is.
has heard, but the Major League Baseball CBA is expiring on December 1st. Hence the reason that we are completing the series right at December 1st. We're giving you and ourselves a foundation with which to talk about the current state of baseball economics. That's what the audit is. Go check it out. All right. Dealer's choice. Although I guess I'm the dealer in this case. Recipient's choice? Player's choice?
Player's choice, right?
Would you like to talk about the Air Quality Index, AI, or affordability? Or a fourth thing, a secret fourth thing, like potentially our bingo card.
Oh, interesting. I'm glad you mentioned the bingo card. I feel like there's maybe one or two things that are worth addressing on there, including the fact that they're percolating, including the fact that we've hit at least one in the last week.
Correct. Yeah,
maybe up to 3, depending on your definition.
We hit banned topic. We hit Tipping Pitches discusses a banned topic. So snake's eating its own tail here. We knew we were going to hit this one already, so this is not a big surprise because we did talk about a banned topic on the yet to be released Sipping Pitches 2.0 episode, which is coming out at the end of July. Okay, but we preempted that by hitting it on last week's episode. I said the phrase small market.
You did. Because you love small market teams.
I did violate the rule. I did violate the banned topic. But I do feel that it's necessary for me to call into question why you banned that topic in the year that the CBA is expiring, and we've put together this series called The Audit, where we are assessing the behavior of small market teams. That was a challenging ban, easily the most challenging ban to avoid.
Yes, absolutely. I think if I'm recalling correctly, the conceit behind that ban was using the phrase "small market," devoid of any context, tends to validate ownership side arguments, right? That the concept of there being big or small markets, there are media markets, there are size of fucking cities, I don't know. But oftentimes the idea of the small market is used as a kind of wedge to draw lines in the sand of classes of ownership. When as I think we tend to point out,
to draw a line in the sand.
A wedge to draw a red line in the sand.
Okay, perfect. I'm taking that wedge and I'm like, you know what I could do with this thing? This is the perfect tool to draw a line in the sand.
Look, I'm going to stop using metaphors. The bench lines, the wedges in the sand.
Yeah.
It's all here.
When you say wedge, are you thinking like cheese wedge? Or are you thinking like wedge to hold the door open? Like where does your mind's eye
actually do
take
typically think of a door stopper.
All right, good.
What's that? Just if you were curious.
It wouldn't be good to draw a line in the sand with cheese wedge. That would be disgusting.
Probably that would be disgusting
and wasteful,
ruining a good wedge of cheese. Look, it doesn't matter because we broke the rule.
I'm sorry. What do I have to do? I have to like run 5 suicides? Like, what is the punishment here?
You have to run 5 suicides in above 200 AQI weather.
Well, it'll feel like I'm breathing metal, according to New York Mets utility man Brett Beatty.
Oh, is that good?
That was his quote. He said, but also, okay, that was the quote that I saw pulled out in Laura's Newsday write-up of the piece. But also, I watched the video of his quote, and the next line out of his mouth was he was like, "It was pretty fun out there." So I was like, Brett, some critical thinking skills would be really, really great in this moment, you know? But I suppose asking 24-year-olds to think about their health at age 50 is a challenging task.
Like, sorry, these lead paint chips taste good. I don't know what to tell you. Before we move on to talking about the air quality index or affordability or anything else, one other news item from this week that caught my eye and initially I think fooled me into believing that we'd had another bingo square hit. That is that David Rubenstein, yes, that is the owner of the Baltimore Orioles. He announced on July 4th, so this is a couple weeks ago, that he was distributing framed engravings, copies of these 1823 stone engraving Declaration of Independence replicas to all 30 MLB and NBA teams. Now, initially, when I read this story, I first of all said, "What the fuck is your deal, dude?" Second, I said, "Oh my goodness, he's acquired these replicas that he is going to distribute to all 30 teams in each league." No, that's not what he does. He owns about a dozen replicas, roughly 25% of the ones in existence. Just power through that one. And what he did was he made copies of his own copies.
A copy of a copy, you say?
A copy of a copy.
We live in a copy of a copy society.
Yeah, literally.
So no new document was acquired.
No new document was acquired. This was a document. He created a product from something that he already had in his archives.
Are you allowed to just do that?
I mean,
Like, I ask from like a historical fidelity perspective. Like, if you own a copy of the Declaration of Independence, are you allowed to just copy it? Shouldn't there be some sort of restrictions around how many of these copies you can create for fear of diluting the market of copies of the Declaration of Independence?
right. Yeah. Well, but it's kind of a multi-tier market, right? There's the market for the copies. These are the stone engraving copies from 1823.
They
right? And then
engraved
there's
the Declaration of Independence into stone. Why were they doing the original Declaration of Independence? Isn't even on stone.
I don't know why they're doing
Like me being like, we're distributing copies of this week's episode. They are on vinyl, but you're gonna really like it.
Yeah, it was 1823. They were like, we had a fucking printing press by then, you know?
Nothing better to do, I guess, guys.
I guess. Anyway.
It does beg the question of why the
bamboozled.
original Declaration of Independence was not on stone. Why parchment?
I mean, I'm always begging that question.
Probably because it would have taken too long. Those guys didn't have the... They kind of didn't... No one really wanted to work back then. That's kind of a...
They didn't have the attention span.
Tenet
The fucking TikTok generation.
American Revolution is that they didn't want to work.
Thomas Jefferson, they couldn't pull him away from Instagram stories.
Would you like to take this opportunity, speaking of declarations of independence, would you like to take this opportunity to weigh in on the MLB All-Star rosters signing their name onto a fake Declaration of Independence? Yay or nay for you? Does the senior tipping pitches host from the great state of California vote yay or nay?
I thought it was corny. I thought it was cool.
You thought it was corny and cool. So that's yay and nay.
That is both. You know me.
So you abstain.
Pick a side. But I think that like that is the sort of kind of corny hand wave gesture to like tradition or whatever. That's like fine. That feels kind of par for the course in sports. I was like, I never in my life did I think I'd see Bryce Harper holding a quill.
Nice.
That was enough for me.
It's also, not only is it par for the course in sports, but that's extremely Philadelphia culture to do something like
Extremely Philadelphia culture. Yeah.
I was driving around Philly last weekend, as you know, for a project that you and I are working on. And it was the first time in my life that I've been driving around the city of Philadelphia and thought, this place ain't so bad. Whatever I had going on, whatever hangups I had with Philadelphia,
I know.
maybe that was me all
You've
along.
grown soft in your old age.
No, I was just driving. I feel like I've been to so many more cities now. So I have, as you might eloquently label it, a bench line for the average American city. And so I feel like I'm like Philly, top third, maybe top quartile.
Wow. Yeah.
At least, if not top 15%.
Yeah.
They got some good stuff going on.
They do have some good. Philadelphia, cool city. You heard it here first, folks. Not only that, we also, I think, agreed upon the platonic ideal of the American state, right? And that is the state of New Jersey, exactly 50th percentile.
Wait. That conversation was not for public consumption. I got a reputation to uphold. Here? I'm the guy who grew up in Pennsylvania, living in New York, and you're just putting me on blast, and I'm like incredibly pro New Jersey. You know what? Fine. You've called me in, and I'm willing to be honest with the audience of Tipping Pitches. I think New Jersey is awesome. I think it's a beautiful state full of beautiful people, weird though they may be. I do think that there is a North, a Central, and a South Jersey. I know that's controversial to some folks. Yep. And I think all three, much like the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, all three live in harmony.
Now, which is which?
Wow. I'm going to have to think about that one for a little longer.
Okay, we'll circle back.
By the end of the episode, I'll have an answer for you. So stay tuned, everybody. All right. Can we talk about AI while we're on the topic of the bingo card? Because
good call.
The Rubenstein thing didn't count for the bingo card, but I did put out a poll for whether this story with the New York Mets and their and other teams, I suppose, but the Mets were apparently the worst offenders. Their dugout iPads were equipped with a generative AI technology that was assessing in-game data and advising their pitchers on what pitches to throw. MLB has put the kibosh on this. That's kibosh, not kibosh. Kibosh. MLB's put the kibosh on this because they were like, well, this is kind of on the borderline of what we allow. These dugout iPads are supposed to be for replay only. They're not supposed to be able to communicate, and they're not really supposed to be able to do in-game analysis like this. It's a bit of a gray area because when this rule was written, I don't think this technology was quite as advanced as it is now. Andy Green, the Mets manager, in his press availability said that they followed all of the rules and that they didn't violate anything, but MLB told them to stop doing this just as a they put a fine point on it. Like, we don't want teams doing this. We don't want you doing this. We don't want anyone doing this. The dugout iPads are meant to be for replay and replay only. Why there needs to be dugout iPads at all, I don't necessarily know, but that's not the conversation that we're having here. The conversation we're having here is, one, do you care? Is this like quote unquote cheating? I think the Mets are too bad for it to be considered cheating.
Right, yeah.
Number two,
it has to work for it to be cheating.
Yeah. Number two, that was one of the funniest things about the Astros sign stealing thing. It was like all the other teams that were probably doing it at the same time. It was like the Pirates were doing it, the Tigers were doing it, the Mariners were doing it. It's like, didn't really matter because those teams suck. But number two, does this qualify in a roundabout way for our bingo square that was MLB team realizes that an AI system was giving them faulty data? Now, the underlying logic for this would be that the Mets are so bad that this AI program was giving them bad data or working off of the wrong data. And therefore, it would count for the bingo card.
Like, my initial instinct when I heard this topic was no. It's not confirmed. We don't know what this data was. We don't actually really know how it was manifesting itself on the iPads or whatnot. You know me.
You hate fun.
I hate fun, and I'm actively working against us crossing off bingo squares this year. I think in the context of the Mets specifically, it feels hard to argue otherwise. It's sort of like we've gone through all the possible explanations of why this team is so bad. It's a little bit like Occam's razor, like I think, right?
The
most
obvious answer is the
obvious
right
answer
one.
is the right one. Yeah.
That's Occam's razor, right? Yep. The simplest one is preferred.
Yeah.
I always get Occam's razor and Bettridge's law mixed up, but that's a headlines thing. That's a journalism.
That's the headlines
thing.
one.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
That you can answer any question, any headline that's a question with the answer no.
No. Except for this headline, in which the question is, did the Mets using generative AI in their dugout lead to their poor season? In this case, the answer, I think, is yes.
So you vote yes. So you think so? By the way,
I think I vote yes.
The tipping pitches community right now on X the Everything app, 152 votes, 66% yes, 34% no.
That's a quorum. That's a super majority.
I don't think that is a super majority. I think super majority is 2/3. That's just. Wait, was it 66 or 64%? No, I don't even remember what I said.
I thought you said 66. I guess technically still below the bar of super majority because we'd have to get to 67, but
get voting, everyone.
Come on.
Just kidding. It's the poll closed. So whatever. It doesn't matter. Why are we talking about what a super majority is? I think this wasn't what I was imagining.
Yeah.
Exactly. Without the other shoe to drop, which is that the Mets realized that this look at you smirking over the other shoe. You love the other shoe. Without the Mets realizing that this was a failed proposition. Because they're definitely still going to be using this program. By the way, this program, the folks who wrote about it, I don't even, like a bunch of people were covering this past week as this story came out. Apparently, Steve Cohen decided to give them a blank check to use AI to assess in-game pitch data about what they should throw and what the other team might be throwing as well. And that it cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It actually is too insane to like even think rationally about. I don't know if you remember, you read to me on air a few months ago a job posting for the New York Mets for an applied AI engineer. Do we think
I remember.
Do we think that that's what this person was working on? Like,
yes.
Good chance, right? The answer is
yes. I do
yes.
think that that's what this person was working on.
I could have been the one custom designing the Mets play calling.
Yeah.
And honestly, I might have done a better job.
Yeah, exactly. You could have been the one telling Austin Warren to throw another slider outside.
Yeah.
Via Claude.
Right. I have created a second tab that just says, look at the output of the first tab, then do the opposite.
We live in the great age of scammers.
Yeah.
Like an AI system that tells you what pitch to throw. So a catcher.
Yeah. This is sort of where I come down to this. Is like, I actually don't really care, like from a cheating perspective. It sort of feels like a non-story to me. Teams are going to use every edge they can unless you have legislated the ways they can or can't use these iPads. Like, they're going to push the boundaries. That's part of the role of being a team, is like trying to find an edge, or in this case, lack thereof.
Would you say
maybe soften the edge?
Would you say sometimes that edge is a black edge?
I might say it's a black edge. Yes. Okay. Although I'm not sure I would say that in this case. The more frustrating part of this to me is play the fucking game. Play the game of baseball in front of you. If you need generative AI to tell you what pitch to throw, then I'm just gonna go play out of the park. Like, what are we doing here? You guys are. This is your career. You've, in theory, it's your job to know what pitch to throw next.
Yeah, I think that we've erred in many ways, but I do think that pitch selection So the Marlins started doing this thing a couple years ago that scandalized the baseball world, where they started calling the pitches from the dugout, something that was only previously being done at lower levels. Obviously, this happens a lot in like Little League. It continues up through amateur baseball, where the coach is calling the pitch because they don't trust the pitcher and the catcher to assess the right pitch for this situation because they're still learning.
Yeah.
Now, I think that a reasonable person could take that and think, much like a lot of the rest of the baseball world, there's a lot of groupthink that goes into that. There's a lot of like historical play the game the right way type mentality informing pitch selection. Like, for example, fastballs have been way overthrown for all of baseball history because they're like, well, we got to establish the fastball. You got to establish the fastball. You never throw an off-speed pitch at the beginning of an at bat because they haven't actually seen the hard stuff yet. You haven't seen how they react to that. And there's kind of this masculine underpinning to that I think is wrong-headed. But we've already moved away from that. Like, we've already coached pitchers to know how to not do that, to not overuse their fastball, to the point where the fastball rate has been declining for 10 years straight now at this point. You know, it was the 2019 World Series or 2017 World Series that Lance McCullers came in and threw 36 straight curveballs to close out the Dodgers. Like, we're past that. So using an AI tool, much like how AI has been talked about in the rest of society, is this further preponderance of optimization that baseball has left itself so open to. It's like, we must be optimized because we have so many. Baseball is a large data set sport where we have so many bites at the apple. We have so many pitches, so many at bats, that if we trust the data, if we trust the analytical mindset, over time, it will pay dividends over a 162 game season. We have to be faithful to it. But humans can't realistically execute math on the field. They are executing sport on the field, informed by math. And so if you're just letting a $500,000 AI tool decide what pitch you throw, and I know it's oversimplification, I'm sure the Mets allow their pitchers to override this, but there must be some sort of institutional pressure to accept this, right? Then, like, again, back to your point, why are they even playing the games? Like, why are we even, if it's all a game of probability where we're taking the human decision out of any aspect of the game, not to sound like one of these like analytics nerds are ruining the games type of thing, but this isn't even an analytics person making the human decision that they've seen data and they feel compelled by a different strategy. This is just letting go of the rope entirely and seeing where you get taken by a computer.
Yeah, and I mean, this is like part of why sport is enjoyable, is you are seeing people make decisions in real time, do things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right? I mean, it's like, I know it's sort of cliche because this is circulated around the internet a lot in the last few years, but it's like that IBM, handbook from like the 80s or whatever that says like a computer should not be making decisions that a human would make because a computer can't be held accountable, right? Like, so ultimately at the end of the day, then
I don't know, dude. I live on the second floor. I've got a window right here. The computer could be held accountable if I really want it to
be. I just like, it feels like, hey, it's a great way to pass the buck. I didn't call that pitch. That was Claude.
Yeah.
Claude called that pitch. So really, you shouldn't fire me. We should change models. We should start using ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's like it's like we're constantly like tweaking. It's like the implication being we're like on the precipice of dialing in our strategies, of dialing in our systems, and I hate to bring this back to a David Stearns conversation, but it is kind of a piece with how he's been running the Mets, which is like this holier than thou, overly logical, like, I know better than you because I'm trusting the process beyond just looking at the results. And I'm like, well, the process does lead to results. It's supposed to lead to results eventually. So what timeline are we working with here? Because you're in year 3 of this process. and it's not going so well. And by the way, is letting AI call your pitches even good process? Why are you even there
Right.
then? Is that even your process anymore?
Well, this is what I'm saying, right? Is like, so then you probably don't need the manager anymore, right? Maybe you don't need the pitching coaches as well, because the model will just tell you what pitches you need to work on. I feel
You're being facetious,
like,
but that's actually how they staff these teams now. They're like, well, let's
I
just
know.
fire all these guys.
But literally, and I feel like I'm going crazy because we've talked about this so much, and like in the context of AI, outside of the context of AI, but like this fundamentally, this is just a part of the same push and pull in the sport over the last, I don't know, better part of 2 decades, right? Of like the human touch versus the computer touch, and whether it's automating away scouting, right? Whether it's saying, actually, you know, that the data that we can look at is stronger than having you go out and look at Mason Miller or whoever it is. It's just
got good ride.
Fastball's got good ride.
What does the computer know about mound presence?
Great mound presence. Knows jack shit. I'm just like, what are we doing here? Why? What is the benefit to any of this?
The interesting thing to me about sabermetrics, let's call it sabermetrics 2.0, because sabermetrics 1.0 is like Bill James in the 1980s, right? And then we take that, we evolve it into what Theo was doing with the Red Sox, what Billy Beane was doing with the A's, but really what the Rays were doing throughout the 2000s and early 2010s. A lot of people were like, this led to uninteresting baseball. To me, I think a lot of people were like, you're letting the spreadsheet play baseball. I view the Rays that way through how they pay their players, but how their strategy on the field, I don't view that as spreadsheet baseball. I view that as mathematically informed decisions that human beings were making, because they were doing things that were unpopular at the time, which, going against the grain, is a very human thing to do. It's actually the opposite of what most AI models do. AI models don't go against the grain. They find the median. And they're like, here's the median result that we're aiming for, so that we can do an effectively competent enough job to make you feel like it's worth paying us $250 per month for a license to our software. Like, that's what large language models are doing. They're taking all of the past results. They're taking all of the past behaviors, literally, of sentences that have been spoken or data sequences that have been input, and they're saying, what is the most likely thing to give you a decent enough output that you can then hone on your own? Is that different than throwing a fastball on an 0-0 count? I mean, that's the most likely outcome throughout baseball history as what would have happened there. I mean, and it goes back to my ultimate frustration with the David Stearns, downstream of Jeff Lunau, executive type. Trim as much fat off of this organization as humanly possible. Fire as many people as possible. Turn over as much of the roster as possible. Change is good. But like, maybe some of those people had good ideas and were doing things that weren't showing up when you looked at your McKinsey assessment of how the organization was running. Maybe some of those people were enabling more things to happen than you really believed.
Yeah, I mean, this also, it just feels like a piece of evidence that suggests to me that teams are using generative AI across the organization, right? Like, we know there have been some stories about teams that have very publicly embraced AI, like the Red Sox. But if a quarter of the league is using generative AI enabled tabs on their iPads to make in-game decisions, you can better believe that they're using it for far lower stakes use cases. And I don't know.
Like writing press releases or setting ticket prices.
And likely in nefarious ways too, right? Here's this player's stats. Make the case for why we should pay him less in arbitration. Right? Like, what are the stats we should point to? You know, like, where does it end?
That might be the single most likely use case of AI for one of these teams.
Yeah.
Because no one previously, no one in the organization liked that job. Most people in the organization were not like, I want to be the guy who's arguing against our player in an arbitration hearing. They're like, well, Claude could do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Claude wrote me the memo. It's his words, not mine.
You're absolutely right to feel that way.
Yeah.
Nolan McLean doesn't deserve any of that pre-arbitration bonus pool. Here's why.
I love our world. I love our reality.
All right, let's talk about AQI.
Okay. Yeah. From AI to AQI.
Yeah. Which is worse? I just don't understand why this keeps happening every year, where Major League Baseball teams continue to play baseball games in what is very, very clearly unhealthy weather conditions.
Mm-hmm.
When we know that it will likely pass in 3 days and it will be healthy enough to then play baseball again. And we already have a mechanism in the sport to delay games because of weather. It makes absolutely no sense at all to me why they don't use that same rain delay mechanism for unhealthy air quality. Can you even kind of begin to explain this to me?
No.
And why do the players put up with it?
I don't know. And it's something that they reckon with, right? We have seen, obviously, for those who don't have the context, right? There have been wildfires sort of raging in Canada and kind of the northern Minnesota area that has blanketed a lot of the Midwest and East Coast with heavy smoke over the past week, right? It was bad in New York. It was extremely bad in Chicago. And those are the only two places I know, frankly, but I'm sure it was bad in other places as well. But it's something that, the players are aware of, right? Bryce Harper came out and said, it's definitely different. Not the greatest idea, I guess, to come out here and play in this type of weather, but we're doing it. The Mets and Phillies had basically, they moved the start time of their game this past Thursday up an hour to sort of try and fit the game into, later looking at the radar, and they're saying, all right, like this is going to be our best window. The Guardians postponed one of their games, the Pirates Guardians game, because the AQI hit above 200. One other note, and this is not baseball related, but the National Women's Soccer League played a match at Citi Field this past week as well. And what they did was they instituted like mandatory hydration breaks every 15 minutes. So you have the Trinity Rodman coming out and saying, if we have to take a hydration break every 15 minutes, then we shouldn't be playing the game. And that's my opinion.
The hydration break probably fixed everything, right? Like, probably like when you drink
so.
the water,
Yeah.
probably like all the particles are just like, I'm being washed down, washed out.
Yeah.
You dilute the particles inside you. So you're
Exactly. AQI scale, 150 to 200 is unhealthy. 201 to 300 is very unhealthy.
And not to mention, like, anything over 100 for sensitive groups is
correct. Yes.
Unhealthy. Like, you shouldn't be out there in anything over 100 if you have something as simple as asthma, which probably some MLB players do have. Like, yeah, it's hard to become a professional athlete with asthma or any kind of breathing related disability, but also MLB is not the highest endurance cardiovascular sport in the world. So you could see a world in which like some players might be more affected than we even know, because these are like private medical concerns. Let me just read you, Alex. Article 13, Safety and Health, page 55 of the Major League Baseball Collective Bargaining Agreement. Article 13, Section A, Bullet Point 1, Safety and Health Advisory Committee. The parties shall establish and maintain a bipartisan safety and health advisory committee, which shall be comprised of an equal number of members representing the association, which is the union, and representing the clubs. The purpose of the committee shall be A, to deal with emergency safety and health problems as they arise and attempt to find solutions, and B, to engage in review of, planning for, and maintenance of safe and healthful working conditions for players. A meeting of the Safety and Health Advisory Committee may be called by any member thereof who believes that an emergency safety and health problem exists and requires immediate attention, and a meeting shall be held as soon as practicable thereafter. In addition, the committee shall hold at least one regular meeting annually for purposes of review and planning.
Well, that sounds binding. That's good.
So
I'm
basically the
yeah.
safety committee is like, they can meet and they can say, here's this emergency, and then the clubs can say,
Yeah.
Now, the Players Association, here's section 4, the Players Association may file and pursue through arbitration a grievance concerning health, safety and health. The parties will attempt to avoid grievances on this subject by making every reasonable effort to utilize the Safe and Health Advisory Committee. However, it is not a necessary prerequisite to utilization of the grievance procedure that the Safety and Health Advisory Committee procedures be instituted or exhausted. Like, this feels like the exact use case for this committee. This is a safety and health emergency that clubs intended to play through, and the players seem to be going along with it. What's the point of having this written into a CBA if you're not going to actually use it?
Yeah, I mean, imagine there's
inconvenient.
An element of
it's inconvenient to call an emergency committee of the safety and health, an emergency meeting of the safety and health committee. But
also the wildfire smoke blanketing the games is also kind of inconvenient.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the obvious solution here would be to lay out the scenarios under which games will not be played, right? If you had a line in there instead of this kind of nebulous, we will address safety issues as they come up and make our recommendation to the league, and then they'll decide whether or not to do anything about it. You could easily say games will not be played in scenarios under which XYZ factors have been reached, right? When AQI goes above 201 or something like that. And then obviously the reason they don't do that is because
what if that happens for a month straight?
What if it happens? Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you back yourself into a corner, and then all of a sudden you don't have games that are being played that are making you money, which is unfortunate because that's what I care about ultimately.
I mean, look, everybody has some level of agency here in this situation. Fans didn't have to go to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Players, I think there are several mechanisms through which they could have taken themselves out of these games. I think if they told their club, hey, I don't feel safe playing in this game, or I have this condition and I can't play in this game, their club probably would have sat them just the same if they said, I have a sore calf, I don't want to play today.
Mm-hmm.
There's this health and safety committee. There's the grievance process. There's all these different things at their disposal that they chose not to use. Ultimately, at the end of the day, like, when you are the management side, when you are the commissioner of baseball, when you are the business, it is kind of incumbent upon you to think about the health and safety of your employees and whether or not you're putting them in a position to jeopardize that health and safety. Because sometimes players don't know what they don't know. Sometimes factory workers didn't know that the machine that they were going to be operating was going to chop off their hand. That's why they had to write into their collective bargaining agreements, you're not allowed to do this without this element of training. There is no training that goes into Major League Baseball players knowing whether or not the conditions that they're playing in are safe or not. Because all of these quotes coming out of these players, between the Mets and the Phillies game especially, it was like, yeah, it sucked out there, but like, it's probably fine. And I'm like, it's probably not fine.
Yeah.
Because this is something
it
that's
shouldn't be on them to like, yeah.
This is something that's going to be affecting you for the rest of your career. Like, this is the best it's ever going to be.
And this is a scenario where that decision should not be on them, right? Whether they think it's fine or not, there should be people who are saying, we've looked at the facts. We don't think it's safe for you to do this, right? It's not on you to make the judgment call on whether or not it's safe for you to be out there, because that's not your strength. That's not what you get paid to do, is determine whether or not it's safe to play in these conditions. That in theory, that responsibility should lie with someone else whose job it is to ensure the health and safety of the players. I mean, the other I suppose party to this, who oftentimes I'll doesn't get discussed, is stadium workers, right? And
Totally.
the fact that like
they're the people with the least agency in this situation.
Exactly, right. They go where the game goes, right? If the game gets played, well, you probably want to put food on your table this week, so you're gonna go and staff the concession stand, right? You're gonna, and I know that they also have unions,
but it's just not that deep, man. It's a fucking baseball game. Like, it's not. We don't need to be out there putting people at risk for this. This is not essential work. This is the entertainment industry.
Yep. Yeah, I'd rather not wait for like a player to pass out on the field for us to realize maybe we need to do something about this.
All right. Last thing I wanted to talk about. I've been thinking a lot about tickets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why is that, Bobby?
I don't know if you had the experience that I had recently of trying to get tickets for the Odyssey. This was like 3 weeks ago at this point. Christopher Nolan's new movie, The Odyssey. You might have heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big movie. It's his follow-up to the superior Oppenheimer. But that's neither here nor there. It was shot for IMAX to be presented on IMAX 70 millimeter projectors at a very limited amount of screens worldwide, only 40 in North America. And so it created this incredibly unbalance. It created this incredible imbalance between supply and demand. There are only so many screens. There are only so many screenings. There are only so many projectors. And there are only so many projectionists who actually know how to operate this specific projector. And there's like 1 billion Christopher Nolan fans out there, it seems like, at the moment. So to get tickets to a movie, which is conceived of as mass media entertainment, there was a queue in the AMC app when you opened it. Like, you literally had to wait in line just to open the AMC app when these tickets went on sale. And I am an AMC A-list member. So I literally, it is my right to buy these tickets for free. I pay a subscription service to be able to get tickets. Now, I bet so do a lot of other people, right? Of course. But like, they're screening this movie at 2 a.m, Alex. Mm-hmm. There are showings for this movie at 2 a.m, at 5 a.m, and they are sold out. And this is obviously an extenuating circumstance. Like, most movies are not like this. Even the big movies, like, you can find 1 or 2 screenings at weird times where there's, half inventory full. So it's not like this is all movies and this is all going to go away. But circumstances like this, and I promise I'm going to relate this to baseball at some point. Circumstances like this, where there's these edge cases of vast demand and low supply, are the kinds of economic indicators and situational examples that allow companies that mostly operate as monopolies, like theater chains, to tighten the screws on consumers. They say, well, and I've heard a lot of people sort of clearing the road for this. I've heard discussions on podcasts far and wide about whether or not AMC or some of these other theater chains are going to jack up the prices for events like this in the future because they know people will pay it. And I look at the rest of society and I think that sounds a lot like what happened in baseball and sports, is that for the most part, the supply is high enough and the demand is low enough that you can kind of afford to go to a baseball game, even though they're, again, nickel and diming you at every step of the way nowadays. But for games that they know that you really will want to go to, they're going to price you out of that because there's always somebody that can pay it. And I watch this happening to all of the things that I care about. And I'm just like, when is somebody going to step in and be like, you just aren't allowed to do this? Like, you just aren't allowed to charge whatever you want to charge simply because the quote unquote free market that is hilariously not free at all anymore. Like, in a free market world, would the company AMC survive based on the service that they are providing? I mean, I love AMC, my A-list, as much as the next guy, and I am a loyal moviegoer. But let's be fucking honest here. Like, it's a terrible app. It's a terrible experience to try to purchase the product. Half of the theaters that they maintain are terrible. Even in a city like New York, like there's only 4 AMCs that I'm like, this is a good AMC experience. Is that the free market deciding? Or is that mechanisms such as the stock market and big financial firms bailing these companies out, or them becoming too big to fail, frankly, forcing us to have these companies that nobody asked for with all of the power in the equation? I feel crazy. I feel crazy that people are even having a conversation where it's like, yeah, people would probably pay $100 to go see the Odyssey for the opportunity to have a theater that's like fewer seats in there, or to get into their prime screening that they want to go to. I'm like, guys, you're literally telling them that you would allow them to screw you. Like, you're literally saying,
shut the fuck up. Stop saying that.
Stop saying that. Stop. Like, you're saying
you're the kid who raised your hand at the end of class.
At concerts is okay.
You forgot to sign us a homework this week. Like, shut up. Would you say that buying tickets shouldn't be this much of an odyssey?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay, all right. You're right though, and this comes also in, with the backdrop of pricing for World Cup tickets, right, and all the sort of dynamic pricing that went into that, and tickets costing like 5 figures, which is insane to go see a singular sporting event. I'll also point out that it was actually a federal judge who this past April basically found Ticketmaster and Live Nation liable on like a whole host of antitrust counts, right? They were like, yeah, so you have been monopolizing ticketing, you've been illegally bundling stuff, all these like anti-consumer practices. Do we think it's going to get better? Probably. They're probably like, oh, we didn't realize that we were doing all this stuff. That was our bad. We'll make the process easier and more transparent and more fan friendly, right? I assume that has to be the outcome, right? I don't know. This is just like,
not unless we start. I mean, probably gonna bleep that.
Yeah, I think you will bleep that one. It's also just like the layer. I mean, when we talk about rent seeking, this is the model. It's everyone trying to get a cut before you, the fan, actually get your product, right? Like, MLB owns their own ticketing platform, but then that like controls the initial sale and the fees and stuff like that. Then you have the resale partners like SeatGeek, which layer on top of that. Then there are bots and like ticket brokers who come in and scoop up the inventory. And then the most, I think, the most evil, as it were, element of this, which is the sort of dynamic pricing, right? That takes into account things like demand and weather and who the opponent is and all of these things that basically adjust to where the market is in real time, right? They're basically saying, this is what we actually think the value is of this ticket, right?
But the dirty secret of dynamic pricing is that they're not adjusting to where the market is. They're setting the market because there's nobody else to compete with in this quote unquote market. There's no fucking market for for Ticketmaster to adjust their dynamic price to, because when you buy a concert ticket, the venue is owned by Ticketmaster also. Nobody else sells tickets for these fucking concerts. Nobody else sells tickets for baseball games. Nobody else sells tickets for movies. You can't buy an AMC movie ticket on a third party. I mean, you could buy it on Fandango, which is more expensive than AMC. That is, I suppose, the competition in the market here that we're talking about. Yeah, you could buy a ticket to go see the Odyssey at an independent theater. And I did. I went because I couldn't get tickets this weekend. I went and I saw it at Village East, which was an inferior experience.
Yeah.
But these companies make the product with the knowledge that the sale of it will be completely controlled by them.
Mm-hmm.
Or like that the exhibition of it is completely and 100% unimpeded by the quote unquote market.
Yep. Yeah, you have
algorithms. We just got to start
that
putting price caps on things, like straight up. Like we just got to start passing laws where we price cap things.
I completely agree.
Especially things that have been subsidized by public money, like baseball.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or FIFA. Or, the movie industry. Like the fucking movie industry, you guys made all of these movies with a bunch of tax credits that different states gave you to bring your movie production back to here. And look,
I already paid for this movie.
Exactly. Christopher Nolan is not the biggest offender or whatever. And I'm not against tax credits for movie production so that we could keep them and the jobs in the United States where these industries are actually unionized as opposed to outsourcing them to different countries where they have different labor laws around producing these movies. Like, I'm not against any of that sort of stuff, but like it's going in the other direction. Like there's more mergers and acquisitions happening in these industries rather than less.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you have these algorithms that are essentially designed to like manufacture a level of scarcity and then figure out what's the most you will pay for this thing, right? And these are experiments that fans have run, right? Where you pull up the website on your laptop and your phone and all these different cases, and you try and buy the same ticket and you get 3 different prices, right? Because it's sitting there looking at all the variables and they're saying, what do we think you are going to pay for this? Which that's bullshit and completely anti-fan, like straight up.
I mean, and they think that you're a sucker. And the more people who come out and say like, yeah, I would pay $50 for a ticket to the Odyssey, the more suckers there are.
Well, because you know what?
Nobody should pay different amounts for fucking anything. Like nobody, exactly. For the same experience, nobody should be allowed to pay different amounts.
Correct. 100% agree. However, I will cite our good friend, Phil Castellini. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go to Village East. And I'm not going to be able to hear what the fuck they're saying.
Oh my God.
All right. I'm done. World Cup final has started.
You got to
watch the World Cup final. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Tipping Pitches podcast in which we rant about consumerism. It's always fun. I love ranting about consumerism. I love checking things off of our bingo card. By the way, official record. We are checking off banned topic. We are checking off faulty AI system. We are not checking off David Rubenstein buys a new historical document. And I have thought about it. I think North Jersey is the father. I think Central Jersey is the son. And I think South Jersey is the Holy Spirit. Thanks for listening to another episode of Tipping Pitches. Go check out the audit, patreon.com/tipping pitches. You could sign up for a free trial of either of our tiers. I suggest the $10 one because that will get you everything. And you can get access to that first episode as well as others. First one is free, so even if you don't want to pay right now, you can sign up to be a free member. Check it out, see what you think. Patreon.com/tipping pitches. We will see you for 3 Up, 3 Down in just 2 days' time. Bye.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Rodriguez. Tipping Pitches.
Tipping Pitches.
This is the one that I love the most.
Tipping Pitches.
So we'll see you next week. See ya!